Alberta looks more and more promising every single day. And is that why, in my opinion, I think there's a little bit too much of a coincidence with all of these people really dogging on Danielle Smith, okay? And am I going to go to jail for saying Christ is King? Who knows? Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. This is where we debrief and discuss pop culture and politics from an independent perspective. And if that interests you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends because it's hard to get my name out in Commie Canada. Let's get into it. So Danielle Smith was cheered and booed by the same crowd this weekend. And we're going to have to talk about this because as somebody who, I'm just new to discovering how corrupt Canada is and how things work. However, I'm not so sure what Danielle Smith was thinking by signing this MOU. If anybody would like to discuss and point me to a direction of a good theory, maybe someone's video, as to why Danielle Smith would agree to this, please let me know. The only thing that I could think of was the major fallout that has come from this, from the left that I have seen on TikTok. It's huge. So maybe that could be an angle. However, I just don't understand why she would say yes to putting an industrial carbon tax to be able to open up a new pipeline. Can anybody tell me why that would ever be something she would agree to? I don't know. But then she came back with some wins. Okay, so we have the castle law. That alone makes me want to go there. Actually, the fact that I could be a substitute in the schools and actually maintain my platform, that would be the reason why I would move to Alberta. And then the castle law, being able to, knowing that if there's an intruder, I don't have to somehow get myself out of fight or flight. Like, guys, can we just understand that there has never been anybody for some reason in committee that has said, hey guys, you guys are the, pushers of psychology and all of these different things. You guys know about fight or flight or freeze. So why are you expecting Canadians who are in what is quite literally fight, flight, or freeze mode, be able to tell how in danger they are to be able to defend themselves? I don't understand why no one has gotten up there and said something like that. But castle law is something that that was on my pros list for moving to America, I'll tell you that. I have been violated. I've had my identity stolen. I have had somebody say that somebody paid them to unalive me and demanded money from me. I don't know why. And I had to call the RCMP and they laughed. So that's great. I've had $4,000 stolen from me from a new Canadian. Okay. I have faced the wrath of the non-violent crime in Canada, and it's horrible. And I am thankful every single day that I have not been subjected to physical crime, but there are so many Canadians out there who definitely have. So this, being able to protect my children without having to think twice, that is a seller for Alberta, okay? But then we have MarkCarney, who also stands to lose from this deal. I think this was a lose-lose situation for both Danielle Smith and MarkCarney. You can almost tell, in my opinion, that the Liberals are having the rats flee the ship, because I happen to get a lot more bot situations happening when the Liberals have annihilated their reputation once again. But without, being able to prove that that's what that is, I can definitely say that all of the lefties that I follow online are very upset. And I'm talking from teenager to probably people my age. I don't think Gen X, since they have been subjected to so many doomsday, sea change announcements on the news, I don't think they take it as seriously anymore. But millennials still do, especially if you live in Southern Ontario. Southern Ontario is the craziest thing to see with my own eyes. The weather has changed so much in Southern Ontario. And I'm just going to say this, that the only time that we had snow, I think I said this in another video, but it could have been my TikTok, was 2020 and 2021. So I'm I'm sure it was just a coincidence, but the sky looks really weird when I'm down south. I'm just going to let you guys know you've been, I think a lot of the Canadian public has been shroomed, because you can't say the G word, into thinking that the weather that is in southern Ontario is normal or just part of some sort of change. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think, who stands to gain and who stands to lose from this deal, and what the end goal is here. I don't really understand it. And a part of me thinks that MarkCarney did this to try to make Danielle Smith look bad, because they're trying to get Danielle Smith recalled right now in Alberta, and the union seem to be pulling stunts with her, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. Now, that's just my opinion. I would like to know your guys' opinion on that as well, because all of that timing seems a bit fishy to me. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I think. And now we're going to talk about this situation with wanting to deem part of the Bible hate speech. And this is why Josh from Elevate Podcast was correct when he said, do not cheer on the religion ban, okay? Because they will do this about everything. Now, I just want to point out that Dina Sharif, okay? Dina Sharif. Do you guys know who Dina Sharif is? If you follow the pleb, you guys know. I personally have been screamed at by Dina Sharif. And Dina Sharif was in a pro-pal thing and arrested. Okay, now I don't know if she's telling the truth. She is outrageous. When you meet her in person, it is still just as outrageous as she is online. So I don't know if Dina was actually doing things that she shouldn't have been. However, she has been arrested and charged. She's out now. I think she's waiting for her hearing with some sort of hate crime. Okay, and this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that you guys allowed the Freedom Convoy to be literally broken up by these weird police. You can't make it up that the people who were saying defund the police in 2020 were then in 2022 cheering on the absolute destruction of the Freedom Convoy via police. I have to be careful about what I say, because all of the oppressors are good when they're on these people's sides, and I'm using the language that they use. Okay, let me just say this. I will be asking my husband for a cross necklace so the Canadian government knows exactly where I stand. And the Canadian government continuously over and over proves the church right. Okay, all of this stuff that they are doing to Christians is going to have an effect that they cannot see coming, because obviously none of them have gone to church and learned what the messaging has been. And it's been talking about how, the people want to attack Christians. And now it's actually happening. We have churches being burned down. Nobody seems to care about that. We have ministers wanting to criminalize parts of the Bible. The Bible. Okay, I'm just going to remind you guys that I've always loved Jesus because he's always reminded me of a loving hippie. Okay? A loving hippie. There are plenty of other religions out there that are way worse than Christianity. How have they painted Christianity in such a horrible light and nobody look into it themselves so much that we're going to deem Christianity some sort of hate crime? Oh my. Being punished for being Christian is a huge point in the church, okay? They are always talking about how Christians will be persecuted. You'll know it's end days when Christians are being persecuted for what they believe in. And would you look at that, unironically, the Liberal government proving them correct. We have had so many Christian churches burned, and now they want to criminalize Christian speech. Nice. Hey, Mark Miller, I would just like to say, by the way, Andrew Lawton did a good job at filibustering, but there's a couple of things that I would have added, okay? I would have added the fact that their ideologies have led to actual harm to children. They have actually led to the erosion of the trust that we had with our institution. They have allowed women to be harmed in spaces they should have never been harmed. Okay, we actually, because of these progressive policies, have allowed criminals to be on the streets, but they want to criminalize people like me for, I don't know, going against the grain. They want to take away minimum sentences for people who have child abuse material, okay, but want to give people like me who preach Christianity, not even preach Christianity, but I talk about being Christian, put me in jail. Me, I'm the problem. Oh, okay. And by the way, I would have also said something along the lines of, it seems like you guys have invented the new version of conversion therapy, okay? If you know what I mean. Because I now, instead of raising my sons in a world where if they were kids, or toddlers playing with a kitchen, I would never shame them or call them names or imply that them playing with those toys meant that they were anything other than a toddler playing with a toy. Now I have to worry about people telling him that he is a girl because he likes those things. So maybe see things from another perspective and see how anything can be hateful if you phrase it a different way. And then I'm going to quickly talk about all of the rats leaving the ship that is the Liberal government. And I gotta say, watching Mark Miller, who, by the way, is who I thought MarkCarney was during the Trudeau era, because PierrePoilievre has always been talking about MarkCarney. He has known that they wanted MarkCarney in that prime minister seat for a long time. So when PierrePoilievre would talk about MarkCarney in the House of Commons, I thought that he was talking about Mark Miller. So full circle moment for me. Bad news for us though, because he is the person that wants to label the Bible a hate crime. And you know what, Quebec? You're a hate crime. What do you mean? Oh my gosh. Does anybody not understand Quebec? I would love to do some sort of deep dive of how they were literally founded on Catholicism. And then now they've reached to a point where you're not even allowed to be religious in public. I have no idea how they've reached the conclusions that they do. They have the smelter, but they can't allow the pipeline through Quebec because they're too good for it. Quebec is weird. Weird like France weird. And if you're watching Candace Owens, please tell me in the comments, because there is a French Canadian on the list of people who want to take her out. And I am begging Candace to look into the Canadian government as well as the French government, especially Trudeau is very close to the Macrons. And I don't really understand the dynamic now because that's a different video for a different day. But MarkCarney has ran his mouth a lot, and I am surprised that he is invited back in the social circles that he is. I am going to do a weekend video on all of the rats leaving the ship, where they're going, what they were responsible for during Trudeau, and now remind you guys of some of their favorite quotes, because Chrystia Freeland deserves a deep dive, doesn't she? So does Melanie Joly, and Jennifer, what was her name? O'Connell is lucky that she left the Liberals, because she would be getting one too, because her ignorant attitude really PMO'd last year. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna head out. I took my daughter to get glasses this morning, and guess what? My glasses were in. I can finally see, I can finally read. I'm not going to get a throbbing headache every single day, because this is what it's like to live in Canada. My husband has really good benefits, but because we had to pay up front, yeah. Anyways, I won't be wearing these for videos. I just wanted to show you guys that I finally got my glasses. So anyways, guys, I want to remind you that you matter. You're here for a reason, and may the odds be ever in your favor. Let's take a deep breath. Every day in Canada is a brand new day. I'll see you guys in the next one.